Constitution Day to those that celebrate the other 26th Amendment and 7 articles of the Constitution. And if you saw my tweet today, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. It's actually Constitution Week, so this will be a part of a series where we dispel common misinterpretations of the Constitution by the far right. And we will start with everyone's favorite PragerU, which is now available in Oklahoma public schools as well as Florida public schools. And we will begin by looking at their video on the American Revolution, which is available for middle school and high school ages, where 90% of the video is accurate history and the other 10% is just flat out wrong. Which part do you think we're going to look at today?
The American Revolution didn't happen overnight. It was the culmination of centuries of debate and struggle. Many rulers throughout history believed they had divine power over their people, allowing them to do almost anything that they wanted, like take their property and throw them in prison. But the founders of America didn't really buy this mentality.
Very sus, bro.
Most of them drew their opinions on the role of government from principles found in the Bible. How do we know? Well, they said it themselves. A lot. Like, a whole lot.
Yeah, they did just pick quotes completely out of context and then try to sell you on the fact that the founders were religiously minded men. So now is a great time to talk about intentionality and then just being incidentally influenced. We're going to talk about the latter. Let me take you back to the year 1440. There's no plumbing, there's no AC, and there is a substantial lack of literature available because there is no mass production of texts. That is until Johann Gutenberg created the printing press, a movable type that enabled them to produce materials much faster than transcribing them by hand. And aside from this creation that's going to revolutionize the entire world, he puts forth the Gutenberg Bible. So if you had any kind of literature in your home at this time, it was probably the Gutenberg Bible for those that could afford it. Materials published before the printing press was invented were typically transcribed by hand by monks or religious clerics. So of course, most of the material was sanctioned by the church, and if it wasn't, then you were probably burned at the stake for heresy. Everyone's reading from the Bible, whether they want to or not. And actually, everyone's not reading. The literacy rate is incredibly low at this point. So maybe one person in each household could read it, and you were subject to their interpretation because you couldn't read. This was especially true for the working class and women, who, if they were allowed to read at all, it was religious texts. The framers broke with this tradition because they were heavily influenced by the Enlightenment philosophers like John Locke, Rousseau, Montesquieu, and Kant, who were heavily influenced by the Magna Carta and its adoption in the early 1200s. This document was drafted by a cardinal, but it did give citizens some protections from the government, which at the time was also religion. Religion was the government was the religion. The church ran the show. So it was pretty impossible not to be influenced by the Bible in some way, shape, or form, since the church was shoving it down everyone's throat. And so stylistically, the founders, the framers, would have written in a way that might have reminded you of some biblical passages. But the actual content was not at all infused with biblical principles. In fact, the father of our Constitution, what most consider to be the architect, James Madison, was very anti-religion and government. He believed in the disestablishment of government from religion because it needed to be voluntary. You couldn't force religion on people. Let me say that again. The architect of our Constitution believed that you could not force religion on people, nor should you. And I quote, "Duty which we owe to our Creator and manner of discharging it can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence." Because our founding fathers weren't evangelical Christians at all. They were actually deists. Deism is a belief in human reason, right? There's a supreme creator that makes all of this world, but then that supreme creator steps back and it's all on us to take it from there. And so we operate by this rule of natural laws that you come into this world and you are owed certain rights. Life, liberty, and property via Locke, which eventually was changed to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in our Declaration of Independence. But to take our language from the Constitution and compare it to very broad, very vague Bible passages is the height of arrogance and narcissism, and quite frankly, very on brand with evangelicism in the United States. So to take quotes like this, that were in letters from our founding fathers, and leave out the majority of documents where they very specifically said that we do not want religion infused in government is incredibly irresponsible as a maker of curriculum. So once again, PragerU tries to slip propaganda in with its history and other curriculum materials, and they are wrong. This was a long video, I apologize for that, but it was a very meaty subject. Subsequent videos will be much more succinct, I assure you. But if you're into this kind of thing, go ahead and hit that like and follow button for more. Bye.